How's it going, everybody? It's Stas here. Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about and breaking down the top couple of stocks and ETFs that I'm personally watching and looking to trade right now in the beginning of February, and honestly for the whole month of February here in 2020. And I also want to go over what the futures market is looking like right now in terms of the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow. We'll take a look at some gold, crude oil, and natural gas as well. And I also want to go over what the markets in general did over these past 5 days of trading, strictly looking at the S&P 500. So before we get into all of this, all I ask from you is if you enjoyed this video, simply go down below for me and hit that like button. And if you enjoy the content here, consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see daily stock market content. And this is your last chance, actually, guys, to get those 2 free stocks from Webull valued up to $1,400. I believe the promotion is running out on the 13th of this month. So if you guys have not yet gotten those 2 free stocks, the link is down below in the description box. All you have to do is punch in $100. You get those 2 free stocks, no strings attached. So let's get into it now, starting off with the S&P 500, the 500 largest publicly traded U.S. companies, its performance over these past 5 days of trading. So 32.35 was the low that we were at here on the 3rd of February, which was on Monday. So from that low, we saw 4 days of very nice movement on the bullish side, right? We hit a high of 33.47, which puts the S&P from bottom to top in the week up around 3.5%. And I believe I saw a statistic, I mentioned this on Friday's video, that this was one of the best weekly performances in the market, or the S&P in specific, in a very long time. So very, very strong performance here in the market. And on Friday, we actually sold off aggressively 18 points, 0.54%. So really, we saw a massive sell-off, guys. You all know that at this point from the coronavirus scare. And although the coronavirus is still very real, the market, excuse me, the market, let me take a drink here, guys. Give me a second. The market is still roaring on. The market saw, again, one of the biggest bounce backs it's seen in recent history. And the fact that we are holding 33.30, or we were rather roughly on Friday, that's a good sign. But if we take a look at these futures here, it's not looking too good, because the S&P 500 right now, in terms of the futures, the ES/ES is the ticker, it's down 0.37%. So for me, that's telling me that the S&P, if this future movement holds into tomorrow's session, it's going to be breaking that support level, guys, which isn't too good, and we may be going down here to $3,300 flat, putting us on top of that 50 SMA. So watch that move to the downside. Let's say we recover into the morning. That could happen. I've seen it happen before. We open up red in the futures market, and then the next day, all of a sudden, markets are green. If that happens, guys, I'd watch to see if the market holds 33.30, and from there, who knows? We may run up to an all-time high yet again. So ES down about 0.33% and climbing now. And mind you, guys, how the ES right now is kind of holding that 50 SMA on the 4-hour chart. So that could be foreshadowing what might happen here in tomorrow's session. The NASDAQ down about 43 points right now, down 0.46%. This is setting up for a pull down to, let's say, 92.50, maybe on top of that 50 SMA. And the Dow Jones down 0.36% here after hitting that all-time high, down $105 in terms of this futures market, and it's holding that 180 SMA and that 50 SMA. So let's do a coronavirus update. That's kind of what the markets are looking like right now. Could you contribute this drop to the coronavirus? Yeah, maybe partially, but I feel like there's a lot of things going on here that could be pushing this market down, or it really could be nothing at the end of the day. We don't know exactly what pushes these markets, guys. It's all kind of guesswork. Not really. When you have a big headline, obviously that pushes the market, but a lot of the time, markets just sell off just because it's in need of a healthy pull down, and that could be what this is. This may not be due to the coronavirus. It could be just because it needs a little pull down because it ran up again 3.5% from bottom to top in the past week alone, which is insane. So coronavirus right now, 37,592 people infected, 813 deaths at least. And these are numbers I wrote down about 30 minutes ago prior to filming this video while I was prepping up all my notes here on these stocks. So yeah, last week, guys, we were reporting numbers on the channel in the 20,000s. Now we're getting into the 37,000s. I wonder, I haven't done this math, but I wonder the day-over-day percentage increase, if you guys know what I mean, of people infected. I remember last week at one point it was 29% day-over-day, but I wonder now, is it lower? Is it 10% increase day over day, 5%? If any of you guys know any info on that, maybe drop a comment if you guys do. I don't know if any of you do, but hey, a lot of people watch these videos, so maybe one of you guys do know. So that's kind of the coronavirus update there. It's definitely still real. It's definitely still infecting people, but this market in general it's just soaring, guys. And again, we'll see if it pulls down further tomorrow. It's just, we're going to have to wait and see what time brings us, right? So let me know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts on the markets right now? Coronavirus, are we going higher this week, lower this week? I would love to know. Now, let's get into these stocks. I have about 14, 15 in my notes right here that I need to go over. And we don't have any time to waste, guys. Let's put it that way. So the first one here is going to be Pinterest. And I'll be honest, this is a company that I haven't dove into a lot in terms of research. Quite frankly, really at all. I don't know much about this company other than my girlfriend uses it. She pins a lot of stuff. And yeah, that's really all I know. I know a lot of people use it to get recipe ideas, DIY ideas, whatever. But for me, it's not something I personally use, which is why I haven't dove into it quite yet. But from my research, I found that they did quite well in their earnings report a couple days ago on the 6th of February. They came out with Q4 EPS of 12 cents. Not a lot of profit, but profit is profit, guys. 12 cents versus the 8 cents estimated. So if you're looking at how much they beat analysts there, that's a nice beat of, I'd say, 30%-ish. Probably maybe a little bit less, like 25, 30%, whatever. My math may be off, but who cares? Revenue came in $400 million versus $371 million. So they beat revenue there by a nice little 5%, maybe like 6-7% margin. That's pretty solid. Now, with these social media companies, one thing I do know, I've looked into Facebook, guys. That's one of my investments. A little bit into Snapchat as well. One thing that's important is monthly active users. Facebook's monthly active users, they're slowing down because they have billions of people, guys. They already have not as much of the market as they can get, but they have a lot of the market. And Pinterest, on the flip side, they don't. They're still doing millions quarterly in terms of revenue, and their monthly active users are still growing pretty nicely. And we saw a number of 26% year-over-year growth in this previous period, which is solid, and they topped $1 billion in revenue in 2019. And although we don't take analysts' opinion as what's the word? There's a word here, guys. We don't take it as fact, right? We always take it as with a grain of salt. That's what I want to say. We always take it with a grain of salt, but a lot of analysts for many banks, firms, raise their price targets on Pinterest here, and that does influence people out there, guys. You have to realize, although you may take it with a grain of salt, others, they don't. They don't. And they'll buy a stock simply because an analyst has raised their price on it, which is why maybe we're seeing a little spike here, of course, with the earnings positive as well. It's good, right? And we can see, again, many people are, or rather firms, banks, are increasing their targets to the 30s, high 20s. So these are all factors here pushing Pinterest in the short term. And quite honestly, this is a good swing trade setup, in my opinion, or it's setting up to be one. That does not mean that you have to buy into it. Please don't, guys. Please do your own research. But for me, this is good. We're seeing a bunch of positive signs, positive catalysts here. This is what we want to see before we enter a swing trade. Why would you want to enter a swing trade where there's a lot of negativity around the company and they had a bad earnings report, right? This had a good earnings report, and there's positivity now. Massive spike, which shows, momentum to the upside. A lot of volume here, as you guys can see from these little sticks down here. So, yeah, and the pull down, setting up a potential entry. This is setting up well, in my opinion, and it's the reason why it's one of the top stocks here that I'm watching this upcoming week, quite honestly. And if we do see a sell-off, maybe $24 could be where we find some sort of support. That's where I'm looking at least. And if we break 24, guys, maybe we settle somewhere around $22.70, maybe to $23. But honestly, if I were to put a general price target on where I'd consider buying some Pinterest here, it's going to be around $23 to $24. And this is actually a call out, guys. So thank you. I don't know. I forget whoever called this one out for me to cover in this video, but thank you, because again, I wouldn't have looked into it myself. I know they recently IPO'd, but again, I'm not too much into the Pinterest business, so I don't really know much about it. So again, thanks, because if it wasn't for you, I would not really have looked deep into this one. So AbbVie is the next one, which, like Pinterest, AbbVie crushed earnings, and this is a positive sign for any swing that I'm looking for. I'm not looking to get into a swing that it has a lot of negative spotlight on it. This one has positive spotlight now because in general they've been doing well, and they just crushed earnings and increased their full year 2020 guidance, which a lot of people love when that happens, guys. A lot of investors, traders love when they increase the guidance. So Q4 EPS came in at $2.21 versus $2.19. Revenue came in at $8.704 billion versus $8.7 billion. And they see full year adjusted EPS of $9.61 through $9.71 versus the $9.48. So very, very solid there in terms of those numbers. And AbbVie now is getting to a level where it hasn't been before. You guys saw, well, actually scratch that. It has been here before, but in the past 6 months, it has not been into the 92 level quite yet. And for me, guys, I'd love to see some sort of settle down in the stock here, and for it to find a support, I'd say around $90, 90, 90.75, right around here, and that's where I'd consider striking as my entry point. I'd say, again, around $90 to about $90.50. So this next stock that I want to go over is another call out, ticker symbol TTWO, and although Pinterest, I didn't know too much about. TTWO, I haven't done a deep dive into it, but I know a little bit more about it because I'm a consumer of some of their video games, guys, and I'm sure many of you all are as well. They make the 2K games and Rockstar. So if you guys play GTA, I'm sure you've played GTA, right? And in general here, TTWO, honestly, I would stay away from it because we talked about, again, with AbbVie and Pinterest, those were two positive reports. On the flip side here, TTWO was not too positive. Their EPS, you guys can actually see it right here. It came in at 143, and the estimate was 185. And I believe they did miss on revenue. Let's see if we can find it here. If not, you guys can go check up on that for yourselves. But in general, it's not looking too good, right? They missed on EPS, and we're getting a bunch of price cuts from analysts here, a bunch of price cuts. So, again, although you take those with a grain of salt, a lot of people don't, and this is kind of why we're seeing some selling pressure after that earnings report. So for me, I don't want to tell you not to buy in because that's not the purpose of this channel. You can do whatever you want, but for me, I would not buy into this quite yet. A long-term investment, that's a different story, but either way, at these levels, I'm sure you can find some better long-term investments just looking at the price in general. I'd need to see it fall maybe back down into the 90s, but for now, I'm not too interested in TTWO, and you can see a lot of investors and traders panicked. It was down about 12% in this past trading day, which is pretty rough, guys. And speaking of another one that's pretty rough, natural gas. Oh my goodness, guys. Natural gas down another 3.5%. And keep an eye on a video coming up this week. Earlier in this week, I have a video planned going over the natural gas report, doing a deep dive on it, because I can't do a deep dive here because the video will be too long. But just know natural gas is continuing its drop down. Massive gap down here. And the ticker that I'm watching is NGH20, the March futures. They're down 3.4%. They dove off a cliff, 6 cents here, guys. So for tomorrow, DGAZ, ticker symbol DGAZ, this one is going to be gunning for $300 tomorrow. So definitely watch this. Maybe even a break above 300. That could be a nice entry point here on DGAZ. Maybe not even an entry point, but a spot to watch, as it could break up even further from there. So that's kind of it right now for natural gas, guys. Again, the video is going to be coming out in a couple of days here, a deep dive. So keep an eye on that if you guys are interested. So Carnival Cruise Line, CCL, this is one of those stocks that's gotten hit so heavily from this coronavirus scare, guys, because they're a cruise line, right? Very, very, I'm not going to say a public place, because, yeah, I guess it is a public place, although it is a cruise ship. And really, these see a lot of decrease in sales when there are virus scares, because not as many people want to go out and be kind of out there at risk of getting the flu or getting the virus or whatever the case may be. In this case, the coronavirus, right? And this stock's been getting hammered day after day after day, down 3.6% even on Friday, guys. And it's gone from 51 down to about 42. And guys, I'm in tune with the financial community here on YouTube, and I feel like I've seen a video from every single person about CCL, Carnival Cruise Line, and many of them make a good case. I believe the dividend yield right now in CCL is solid, so if you're looking at a dividend play, this could be for you. But for me, guys, one thing that scares me about this is if a recession comes around, are as many people going to go on cruises, luxury cruises, whatever it may be? I personally don't think so. And many people would argue against that and say, yeah, the retiree community, they're going to go on cruises no matter what, recession, booming economy, whatever. And maybe you're right in a sense, but for me, I think when a recession kicks in, what's the first person going to cut out of their budget? A cruise line, or let's say if you're owning Procter & Gamble, the products of Procter & Gamble, or the products of Clorox, or the products of some of these other blue chip dividend companies, right? So for me here, sure, for some people it could be a value, a dividend play. Go for it, right? But for me, I'm passing on it, and from a swing trading perspective, I'm definitely passing on it because it's still downtrending. We're seeing a bearish cross here, 50 SMA crossing below the 180 SMA. It's kind of like a falling knife. The death trap is what I like to call it. So I'm personally staying away until we get some sort of clarity around the coronavirus maybe being contained. That's one thing that could be very good for CCL. If we get some good news about the coronavirus, that could be a short-term swing back play for CCL, because on the yearly chart we can see downtrend. We hit a lower low. Every time we do hit a lower low, we bounce back up, we pop back up. So watch out for that play. That's kind of the only way right now that I'm looking at CCL, to be completely honest with you all. So Square, this is another one I'm watching here for it to hold above, I'd say around $78. And with the price action right now, it's holding $78. I'm liking it, guys. We saw a big run up on Friday morning. We ended up holding above, the 78 in general level of support, which is good. So for me, I want to see Square into the $79, maybe $80 level before taking a position. So Tesla and NIO, the two hottest EV makers out there, at least in my eyes. Well, Tesla's for sure the hottest. NIO is, for me, one of the hottest because I own it as well as Tesla. But Tesla here, this could be setting up for a dip buy. I said last week the lowest we might get is 550. Obviously, we didn't get there. And we were looking at this general area of 680 to about 650, which now looking back, since obviously time has caught up with us, we see the chart here, we can see it ended up holding that 680 level, 700-ish level for 1-2 days. And that happens to be the 180 SMA here on the hourly chart. So for me, Tesla, this could be the dip, guys. This really could be the dip here, especially if we do end up popping above, I'd say, this 50 SMA here on the hourly chart, as well as the general $800 level. I think from 800, if we break that, that could bring in, honestly, a lot of more buyers. And if Tesla was to get to $1,000 from there, I wouldn't be too surprised considering how hot the stock has been. But on the flip side, some downside here could come if we were to break, let's say, that 50 SMA on the 4-hour chart. Maybe we could sell down to the 500s at that point. But until that happens, guys, even if that happens, who knows? We'll cover it as it is for now. We're not jumping any guns, but just watch what happens here, guys. It's very, very critical. And Neo's been getting killed, guys. This is kind of looking like a head and shoulders pattern in a way. I'm thinking if it breaks this 180 SMA on the 4-hour chart, that won't be too positive, to be honest, guys. That could bring a lot more selling, but for me, I don't really care because I'm not swing trading Neo at this point. This is a longer-term investment. I might even add more shares if it falls down to the $2.50 level, $3, low $3, At that point, I might add more because, again, head and shoulder, left shoulder, head, right shoulder forming here is kind of looking a bit awkward, but it's still kind of looking like a head and shoulder to me. If we dump, this could be the completion of the right shoulder, and we might be seeing that $2.80 to $3 level. So we have to see, guys. I'm hoping at the end of the day, I'd rather it go up, honestly, because I kind of already have my Neo position built out, but I won't be too mad if it were to get down even further. So Yeti is another one that actually a subscriber called out, and honestly, guys, I don't know much about this company at all, but just judging on a technical basis, people are selling before this earnings report. Earnings come out on the 13th here of February, and people are selling out, it seems like. We hit 38.61. We pulled down now to about 35.60. 2% sell-off on Friday, and now we're holding that 50 SMA here on the 4-hour chart. So for me to even consider a position in Yeti, I'm going to need to see it hold this level, 35, 35.50, as again, it is a 50 SMA support, and it is an old resistance that we held or that we topped out at twice before. So very strong level of support here on Yeti, 35 to 35.50. That's kind of where I'm watching. This one, MSFT, guys, Microsoft, this is one that if the markets pull down, it being a large cap, it should pull down pretty well. And in general, this is one that I've been saying, buying the pullbacks, in my opinion, don't do that, but buying the pullbacks has been pretty wise, and a lot of people have been agreeing with that because this thing has been churning out money like crazy. It's been a machine. Every time it pulls down, it pops up even further. So for me here, 185, no, I'm not chasing that. But if we were to pull down with the markets in general selling off, let's say we were to get 175, maybe 180, maybe I'd nibble some shares there, right? Because I like Microsoft as a swing in general. Like I mentioned every single video, when it does pull down, they crushed earnings a couple days ago, so yeah, a lot of positivity surrounding Microsoft right now. So CL/CL crude oil, guys, dumping even further here today, back into the 49s, down 43 cents, down 0.85%. So the downtrend continues. The slaughter on oil continues here. The 50 SMA ended up being a resistance on the 4-hour chart. Now we're pushing down to test 49.30, and of course, if we break that, That would be a lower low. That would be the continuation of the downtrend here. So for me, guys, DRIP, this is one that I'm watching. This is a 3x leveraged ETF. It trades based upon XOP, which is an oil and gas ETF. So whenever XOP is going down, right, whenever crude oil is going down, it kind of correlates, right? And that's when DRIP is going up at a 3x rate. So if we want to short crude oil, XOP, we're going to trade DRIP, or at least I am, right? Another one is DWT. This is an ETN. This goes up whenever crude oil goes up as well. So two companies here, kind of in the same industry, same kind of business. Costco Wholesale Group. This one, it's another call out. Honestly, I'm not looking to chase it here. We're about to test 315. This could be a breakout area where maybe we hit an all-time high. I'd probably think so, especially if these markets come back. But I see more value elsewhere, guys. Honestly, from 315 to 325, that could be a move, but what is that? Like 2%? I could see a lot more money made in, let's say, Square and some of these other stocks, like maybe even Pinterest, Netflix, which is one that I'm also watching. But on the flip side, Target, similar kind of business here, is also a better one, in my opinion, than Costco at this point. We're holding at $115, which is that level of support that I'm hoping it holds here. Old resistance, right? And now we're starting to climb back up above that 50 SMA, which has been a resistance here on the 4-hour chart. And in general, we know Target fell because they had a measly sales growth, I believe year over year, of only 1%, or their holiday sales grew 1% or something like that, which really shocked the stock. You guys can see it fell, I believe, this day from 123 down to 115. And this could be a bit of an overreaction, right? And now we're seeing the consolidation, and people, investors, traders, they may kind of be forgetting about that. That's kind of how you notice this in the stock market when you're in it for a while, right? You notice how negative catalysts come out, they hit the stocks hard, and then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, the stocks kind of move back up, right? And that's kind of what we're seeing here with Target. Facebook's another one where we saw an overreaction. Now it's coming back up. This is a way that I like making money in the stock market, to be honest, guys. Trading these overreactions. Facebook, they didn't kill earnings as much as they usually do. The margin they beat was pretty, the margin they beat estimates by was pretty slim, so the stock fell. I didn't think that was too big of a deal. Growth, I know, has been slowing down in Facebook. Everyone knows that, and I honestly think it was a bit of an overreaction, and I'm making some pretty good money now trading this Facebook move. And another one here is Johnson & Johnson, guys. This one hit a high of 154.50, and now it's pulling down to about 152. So this could be a nice dip buy, as it's been very strong here through the coronavirus. And this is an investment, honestly, that I love. I've been buying it since the 120s. I was buying it all throughout this dip, and now I'm finally seeing kind of the benefit of buying those shares a couple months back, not in my swing account, but in my longer term portfolio. And I might be interested in picking up some shares at 150 in my swing portfolio. So let's run through gold very quickly before I end off this video, guys. I'm sure this video is pretty long as it is, but gold is up a nice 0.25% here, up $3.60. Excuse me, guys. Oh my God. But gold up $3.70 right now. And tomorrow, if these markets, they do end up selling off even further, we may see a big move in gold. We may see a big move in silver. And what I like trading, let's say, based on gold, is JNUG. JNUG is a 3x leveraged ETF, goes up whenever gold is going up, right? And let's say you're trading something based on silver. If we take a look at silver right now, this is up about 0.07%, not too big of a move. But if silver goes up, USLV is an ETN, 3x leveraged ETN that I like to track, that follows silver, right? So overall, guys, that's kind of it for today's video. A bunch of stocks. We went over 15 to 20 in this video, at least, that I'm watching right now. Oh, one more, guys. One more before I end off this video. Uber. How did I forget? Uber, this one has a lot of potential this week. Although it ran up 10% on Friday, watch $40 to be that new level of support. That's kind of what I'm thinking here with Uber, and I think it has a lot more potential to get up to the higher 40s, 45, maybe even $50. And I'm considering a position at $40. We're just gonna have to see here tomorrow what does end up happening. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to go down below and hit that like button, and also consider subscribing to the channel if you guys want to see further content from me. And don't forget the 2 free stocks from Webull. Again, the promotion is running out on the 13th. You need to get your 2 free stocks, guys. That is linked down below. All you have to do is put in $100, and you get those 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400. So I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks again for watching. As always, peace out.